Welcome back to the cryptoworld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, while Bitcoin is still repeating history in the short term and still holding above this critical line of support, the price of Bitcoin is about to break out into new all-time highs on this Bitcoin chart, which you have not seen before. So I'll be talking about all of that and more in just a moment, so definitely stick around. First of all, starting off on the weekly Bitcoin chart, and right now Bitcoin's still playing out a larger bull market signal, as we can see here in the weekly Bitcoin RSI. We're still looking bullish, and the last couple of times this has happened in the weekly Bitcoin RSI, a major breakout here. We've seen a bull run in the price of Bitcoin over the next 1 year approximately, and this signal only recently confirmed just a couple of months ago. And so right now we're still looking bullish on this larger time frame right here, and if we're looking at this weekly Bitcoin chart, the weekly Bitcoin MACD is still sitting in the green, indicating a bullish trend or bullish momentum right now. But of course, just recently we have lost a small amount of bullish momentum just in the short term, as I've talked about recently here on the channel. Once again, this means we're seeing a bit of a slowdown in the short term, very similar to what we saw pretty much exactly 1 year ago, but that occurred during a larger bull run. So essentially, we're seeing a short-term slowdown during a larger bull market. That is the current situation on these larger timeframes. Looking at these 4-day Bitcoin chart, the super trend indicator is still sitting in the green, indicating a larger bullish market. So overall, not much has changed on these charts over the last few days. We're still looking bullish. And of course, as I've also mentioned recently here on the channel, there's a possible bearish divergence forming on the weekly Bitcoin chart, with higher highs already confirmed in the price of Bitcoin and lower highs possibly forming here in the weekly Bitcoin RSI, but at least as of right now, this has not been confirmed. And so this is just something to watch out for in case it does confirm, but for now, things are currently looking more bullish than bearish here on the larger timeframes. And with that being said, if we're taking a look at this Bitcoin chart on the monthly time frame, and this is a Bitcoin chart that it's very unlikely you've ever seen this Bitcoin chart before. And yes, it is a Bitcoin chart, but it's not against the US dollar. This is the Bitcoin chart against the US dollar on the monthly time frame. This is probably what you're used to looking at. But rather than looking at Bitcoin on this monthly time frame right here against the US dollar, if we're looking at the Bitcoin price in US dollars, but divided by the Nasdaq 100. So essentially, Bitcoin priced in the Nasdaq 100 index, which is of course the tech stocks in the US. This gives us a slightly different Bitcoin chart. As you can see right here, the highs in particular actually line up much closer here on this Bitcoin chart, the Bitcoin Nasdaq chart versus the Bitcoin US dollar chart. And so for context, once again, this is the Bitcoin chart against the US dollar, and this right here is the Nasdaq 100 index on the monthly time frame. So this is all looking at the same time frame, the monthly chart. So each one of these candles is one entire month. And so what this chart right here shows us, the Bitcoin Nasdaq chart, this essentially tells us that the market prices Bitcoin as if it's a high beta tech stock. Now, of course, Bitcoin's fundamentals are definitely not the same fundamentals as a tech stock, a tech company, but this is at least how the market trades Bitcoin, how the market prices Bitcoin. It prices Bitcoin once again as a high beta tech stock. And in case you're new to all of this, beta is essentially increased volatility on the upside and the downside. So essentially, when we're seeing bullish times in the market during bull runs, Bitcoin gains against the Nasdaq 100. So Bitcoin outperforms the stock market, the tech stocks. But during the bearish times, Bitcoin underperforms the tech stocks. So Bitcoin basically crashes a lot more during the bearish times than the tech stocks, and pumps a lot more than the tech stocks on average during the bullish times. And so, for example, if we're looking at 2018, of course, in the price of Bitcoin, we saw a major Bitcoin bear market here in 2018. But if we're looking at the Nasdaq 100, it was only just a minor crash in the Nasdaq 100 here during 2018. But during those bearish times, once again, Bitcoin rapidly underperformed the Nasdaq 100. We saw much more bearish price action back then during those bearish times. But if we're looking at 2021 or even just over the last 1 month or so, of course, the price of Bitcoin both went to the upside here, and the Nasdaq 100 index went to the upside, but Bitcoin went way higher, had a much larger percentage move to the upside than the Nasdaq 100 during these bullish times. So once again, the market trades Bitcoin as if it's a high beta tech stock, a high volatility tech stock. But what's very interesting is if we're taking a look at this Bitcoin Nasdaq chart once again, right now we're actually coming into contact with the previous bull market top, the previous bull market high that we set back in 2021. In fact, the bull market high back then on this chart right here was in April to March 2021 rather than the high that we set back in November if we're looking at the Bitcoin USD chart. And so in other words, the price of Bitcoin right now essentially buys you the same amount of shares in, let's just say, the Nasdaq 100 as what you could have bought right back here around April to March 2021. And so for context, the current price of Bitcoin at the time of recording this video is close to 100K, and the Nasdaq 100 index right here is close to around 21,500. And so just to round it to the nearest whole number, right now, one Bitcoin buys you roughly around 5 shares, let's just say, of this Nasdaq 100 index. So obviously 100,000 divided by, let's just say, 20,000 for easy numbers. Whereas if we're looking at the bear market lows here, we got down to just below 2. So essentially one whole Bitcoin would buy you barely 2 shares in this Nasdaq 100 index. And so in other words, the price of Bitcoin has barely moved from the previous bull market top. We're only just at that previous bull market high right now, and we're yet to break out into new all-time highs against the Nasdaq 100. And so once again, with Bitcoin trading as if it's a high beta tech stock, if this bull market continues, not just the crypto bull market, but if the stock market bull market continues, then in that case, it's very likely we'll see a major breakout here in the price of Bitcoin against the Nasdaq 100. Because once again, during the bullish times, when the stock market is in a larger bull market, when crypto's in a bull market, Bitcoin on average outperforms the average stock, so the average tech stock, the Nasdaq 100. And of course, you can find some outliers if you're looking at individual stocks, but this is talking about the broader market here, the Nasdaq 100 index. And right now, Bitcoin is outperforming that broader tech stock sector. And this will likely continue in a major breakout to the upside. And we could potentially see a massive price target on this breakout right here, because this is a massive pattern that's been forming for many years. And now, of course, just because this one pattern shows a price target, it does not guarantee that we're definitely going to hit the price target for this pattern. But just for fun, if we're measuring out the price target for this pattern breakout right here, once we break out into new all-time highs on this Bitcoin chart, we'll go from around 5, a ratio of 5, up to potentially a ratio of 24 to 25. And so that tells us once again that one Bitcoin, if we were to hit this price target, once again, I'm not saying this is definitely going to happen, but if we were to hit this price target, one Bitcoin would buy you roughly 24 to 25 shares of this Nasdaq 100, which once again, right now is sitting at around 21,500. But obviously it could be much higher if this bull market continues. But it is important to understand that this price target right here is based on the logarithmic scale, the logarithmic chart. So it would be more accurate to look at, say, the linear settings. So if we're actually doing that and looking at the linear settings, then that will give us a totally different price target. And so let's just say we're measuring out some sort of price target like this based on the linear settings. This could give us, once again, a more accurate price target, a more realistic price target. That will give us a ratio of around 8 to 9. And so if we confirm this breakout once again into new all-time highs on the Bitcoin Nasdaq chart, one Bitcoin, if we hit this price target right here, one Bitcoin would buy you roughly around 8 shares of this Nasdaq 100 index, which once again right now is sitting at around 21,600. And so those are just some things to think about moving forward, and something interesting I thought I'd share in this video today, because over the last one day, not a lot has changed in the price of Bitcoin in the US dollar terms. But even though this price target on the logarithmic chart might not necessarily be very accurate, might be a little bit too far away, of course, there's one thing that's still very likely is that Bitcoin will likely continue outperforming the larger stock market, especially the Nasdaq 100 here, as we could see throughout this bull market and previous crypto bull markets. Bitcoin almost always outperforms the Nasdaq 100. And this next major bull market in the Bitcoin Nasdaq chart is potentially only just getting started. As we can see right here, we're only just at that breakout point into new all-time highs on this chart on the monthly time frame, which is a big deal. And if you want to trade these moves in the price of Bitcoin or any other crypto, personally, I've been taking more trades over on my Bitnex account. So I'll make sure to leave a link to Bitnex below this video in the description and in the pinned comment. And if you use that link below this video, it'll take you to this page right here, which is an exclusive deposit bonus you can only claim using that link. And so if you simply just use that link to make your BTNX account and then deposit 100 USDT and then start trading on that account, you can get a $20 bonus. Or if you do the same thing but deposit 500 USDT, you can get a $100 bonus. Or if you deposit 1,000 USDT and start trading, you can get a $200 bonus. And so essentially, this is a quick and easy 20% return on your initial deposit here, up to 1,000 USDT once you start trading on that account. But once again, this is only available if you use the link below this video to make your BTNX account. And also, in case you're wondering, BTNX is a no KYC exchange, which means you can access it from basically any country in the world without needing any KYC. But for whatever reason, if you don't want BTNX, there is also Bybit, which is another crypto exchange I also trade on. So I'll make sure to leave a link to Bybit as well in the description and in the pinned comment. And if you use that link, you can get a 500 USDT position airdrop. So basically a free $500 trade as your first trade over on Bybit, but that's only available if you use the link below this video to make your Bybit account and deposit on that account. But with that being said, taking a look at this Bitcoin chart, and right now the price of Bitcoin against the US dollar on the weekly time frame is running into this major point of resistance at approximately 102,000 based on this 1618 Fibonacci extension level. And so we're still getting very close to that major breakout because the price is not necessarily experiencing a massive rejection from that resistance. We're hanging right around that resistance level, which means the resistance is getting weaker and weaker the more we test that resistance, as I've explained recently here on the channel. And so it's only a question of when we see the breakout, not if, at least in my opinion, and it will likely come soon enough. And if we're taking a look at this 3-day time frame, the next major price target beyond 102,000 is sitting at approximately 113,000 based on this 2618 Fibonacci extension here on the 3-day Bitcoin chart. But obviously, before we can look at 113K, we do have this resistance. We first need to confirm a breakout above at around 102,000. And if we're zooming into the 12-hour time frame, right now the price of Bitcoin is still playing out very similar price action on the exact same time frame to what we saw pretty much exactly 4 years ago, because both of these charts right here are on the 12-hour time frame, the exact same time frame, and we're playing out the exact same bearish divergence pattern just underneath a major point of resistance around a significant level on the price chart, close to new all-time highs during a larger bull market at the end of a Bitcoin halving year. And so literally all of those things are lining up all together, pointing towards very, very similar price action that we're seeing right now compared to what we saw pretty much exactly 4 years ago. And of course, what came next 4 years ago was a major breakout to continue the larger bull market later on, after we first saw a little bit of a cool off in the short term. And so as I've been saying recently here on the channel, just be patient here in the short term. We're just chopping around sideways, seeing some slight little pullbacks and things like that in the short term, which is to be expected due to this bearish divergence, which is still currently active. But soon enough, potentially in a matter of days, maybe in a week, that sort of time frame, we're likely going to see a breakout here as what we saw around 4 years ago. And if we're taking a look at this 12-hour Bitcoin chart, right now the price of Bitcoin is still holding above this important line of support here in the short term, which is currently sitting at around 97,500. And we also have this volume profile indicator showing a massive amount of traded volume acting as support, sitting in between around 96,500 to 98,000, once again acting as support. But below that area, if we were to see a breakdown, we have a gap in the traded volume here, which means the next major area of support to the downside, if we were to break below this level right here, once again, the next area of support is sitting at around 91 to 92,000. And with that being said, if we're taking a quick look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, obviously over the last 1 day, we took out some of that liquidity at around 102,000 approximately. But once again, as I just mentioned earlier, we still have strong resistance at that 102K level, and we still have more liquidity just above 102,000 at around 102,500 approximately, going up towards close to 103,000. We have a lot of liquidity right there. And so usually the price of Bitcoin tends to move towards where there's a lot of liquidity. So that's why I said earlier, it's only a matter of time until we eventually break out above that 102K level, because we have a lot of reasons on the price chart why the price will likely see a breakout at some point soon. And as for some liquidity to the downside, we have a small amount of liquidity to the downside at around 98,500 to 99,000, and also another decent amount of liquidity at around 93,500 to 94,000. But overall, we do currently have more liquidity to the upside compared to the downside, at least in the short term. And once again, if you want to get set up ready to go to take these trading opportunities, get set up ready to go using those links below this video if you want to claim those extra bonuses on those crypto exchanges. And if you want to actually know how to trade crypto, no matter if the price is bullish, bearish, or chopping around sideways, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions, and the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.